Hey, what's going on, DDO players? Axel here. Today we're going to talk about the executive producer's letter for DDO, which just came out a couple days ago. So if you aren't aware what this is, basically it's a letter that the head guy over there at DDO, Severlin, puts out every year, which details what they're going to do for the remainder of the year. So it kind of details the schedule of 2021, and it normally announces a lot of new things, and that held true this year as well. So we're just going to go through the letter piece by piece and talk about it. So before we get started, if you all could do me a favor, for those of you who aren't subscribed, it would really help the channel if you would consider subscribing. I would really appreciate that. I'm almost to 4,000 subscribers. It'd be really cool if we could get there. Also, I know that they did a follow-up discussion about an hour long after this letter, where Severlin and Cordovan talked for quite a bit, and he went into more detail and discussed a lot of additional things. And I'm working on another video that I'm going to do covering that. So this is just kind of part one of this. There will be another video coming out shortly, hopefully in the next 2-3 days. All right, so the first thing we want to do here is just read what they had to say. So let's read the first part here. Happy 15th anniversary DDO. We are excited to reach this milestone and are ever thankful to our players for making this possible. Today I'll be talking about some of our plans for the rest of the year and letting you know what we are looking forward to. So first of all, congratulations DDO. 15 years is a big accomplishment. That's a long time for a game to be around and to be profitable and relevant. So congrats. That's awesome. So let's continue here. In the coming weeks, we will be celebrating in House Feywild as we bring out an updated anniversary event. This year's event features a few minor updates to the challenge itself, along with a large number of new items added to the reward list. We're bringing back all of the house-specific Eberron cloaks in the rewards list that we gave out a few years ago for our anniversary. In case you missed one or missed it, and we're adding a new cosmetic helm and cosmetic pet as well. We're also going to be distributing 2 special gifts to everyone. One will be something your character will wear as a cosmetic, and the other is something your character will equip. So the anniversary event, they've done this for many years now. There is a special anniversary dungeon that is now open for a limited time in the game, and you can go in there and farm party favors to get items from the loot list. If you want to see all the different items you can get, just go to the DDO wiki. It explains it there. As far as the giveaway, which they're also doing, so there is a code to get these 2 free gifts, and the code is Happy15DDO. So you'll just type this code in the DDO store, in the promo section of the store, and you'll get these 2 items for free. So these 2 free items are 1 per account, and one is a cosmetic cloak, and I'll throw it on the screen right now. So this is what it looks like. It's basically a red and black cloak. It has a D20 on it with the number 15 on it, which of course relates to stands for DDO's 15th anniversary. So that's cool. The other gift is probably the one more people are interested in, which is the more pragmatic gift that actually gives you an in-game benefit. So the other gift is your choice of any raid item from not any raid item, but there's a big list of raid items that you can choose from. Mostly it's loot from older raids, and there's a lot of stuff in there, but so you have to go in game and kind of look at what you want. But I think the most popular 3 items from this list are going to be the heroic sword of shadow. So that's, for those of you who don't know, it's considered basically the best melee heroic leveling weapon. There's also the Quiver of Alacrity, which I think a lot of people will want as well, which is a quiver which, once you upgrade it, and you do have to upgrade it if you claim it, you don't get it immediately, but you'll have to upgrade it. And then what it does, it gives you 30% striding at level 1, which is great if you TR a lot. It's a really good item to have. Getting 30% striding, you can't get it at level 1 otherwise. And then there's the Epic Litany of the Dead, which I think will be the round out the top 3 most popular items. The Epic Litany of the Dead has a new use as of the last update. So update 48, you can now use the Soul Forged Augment crafting system to strip the +2 profane to all stats bonus off of it and make it into an augment. So if you get that item, it's a good item on its own, but if you want to deconstruct it and turn it into a +2 profane to all stats bonus augment, you can do that. So I think those will be in no particular order, the 3 most popular items, but there are other ones on there, so you'll have to look at the list for yourself and decide what you want. Okay, so let's move on to the next part of the letter here, which discusses the new raids. So The release. This is what several had to say here. The release of the new raid, the Dryad and the Demigod, marks the grand finale of the Fables of the Feywild expansion. This raid features the music of our in-house composer, Bill Champagne, and we think it is a raid unlike any other you may have seen before. The idea of a musical raid has been kicking around for a while in the office, and we think players of all types will find something special here. Anyone who has purchased Fables of the Feywild will have access to this new raid. So, this is the raid attached, as they describe here, to the Fables of the Feywild expansion. So, if you've purchased that expansion, you can now play it. So, this has been long awaited. They initially announced this would not be included in the release of the expansion because they weren't done with it, but it is out now, so you can go experience it. I have run it twice at this point, and just to give you a summary, I won't give any spoilers here, but just to give you kind of a general idea of what to expect. It's a large one-room raid. It's a big open area. I mean, I know some people were a little down on it being a one-room raid, but it's a very, I would say, as far as I can think of right now, it should be the biggest one-room raid there is. So it's a very big open area, and there's a lot of different mechanics in the raid, and I'm still very early in the process of formulating my thoughts on it, so I don't quite have an understanding of all the mechanics yet. But there's puzzles in the corners to solve, stone puzzles there, which are actually quite challenging puzzles. There's an NPC kind of in the middle who you need to protect throughout the raid. There's different mobs that you need to tank. There's a cool kind of dance mechanic where there will be you have to move along to the music the way it instructs you to. So it's quite involved. There's a lot of different things in the raid, but it is very accessible. So it's not a raid that's kind of, in terms of difficulty, it's not on the level of like a too hot to handle or anything like that. It's kind of your average difficulty, as you would expect. Is very completable on normal for, I would say, really any pug. So yeah, so go out and try it if you haven't already. It's pretty cool, the experience there. Okay, I will say one of the things I was let down a little bit on is the music. So the music, not to say it's not good, it's very good, but what I was expecting, the way they were describing it as a musical raid, I was expecting there to be like multiple phases with multiple different songs, but it's really just the same song that plays the whole time. So I would say over with the raid so far, I'm still formulating my thoughts, but as of right now, I was expecting a little more from it, but at the same time, it is still a fun raid. So I would say I'm maybe very slightly disappointed at this point, but that could change as I run the raid more and kind of learn the mechanics more. Let's continue on in the producer's letter. So the spring brings the first Hardcore League season of 2021 to the game. Our fourth Hardcore season will feature some new and returning guests in the form of the minions of the 9 Dalkir Lords. You've met the Lord of Eyes and the Lord of Stone, but have you met the rest? We're also planning to run a 5th season of the Hardcore League later this year. So they've basically here announced 2 seasons of Hardcore in 2021. The seasons, they didn't say how long they'll be, but normally every season has been 3 months. So I'm assuming that these will be the same. Although last year they did discuss the possibility of doing a shortened season, but if they hold to the 3-month length, then we're seeing the bulk of the remainder of the year having Hardcore active at some in some form or fashion. So the theme they mentioned here revolves around like the Lord of Eyes and the Lord of Stone, so that relates to Zoriat. So it has kind of a Zoriat theme. So we'll see how that goes. But in any case, if you like hardcore, there's going to be a lot of it for the remainder of this year. Okay, moving on. The spring will bring update 49 that includes 4 dungeons where you will help Moorgrave University hunt down lost relics in a series of adventures that feel somewhat Indiana Jones-like. Along this adventure pack, the bow combat style is being revamped and will get new animations. So the new adventure pack they mentioned here, it's no surprise that we're getting new adventure packs. We always get new adventure packs a few times a year, every year. So with this adventure pack, they did mention it was Indiana Jones like, and it sounds like the pack is going to be similar to, say, the Promise of Fire. If you're aware of that quest, Promise of Fire was a free-to-play quest that was released last year. So with the Indiana Jones theme, what I would expect from this adventure pack is a focus on traps and a focus on puzzles, because it is Indiana Jones themed. Traps specifically, I would definitely expect focus on that, and maybe some Mario stuff as well. This is just me speculating, but with the descriptor Indiana Jones, you'd have to expect these types of things. But if you want an idea of what these quests will be like, go run Promise of Fire. Promise of Fire is a free-to-play quest, so everyone can run it, and it's quite a quite good quest. I was a big fan of that quest last year when it came out. As far as the bow animations they mentioned here, that is part of the bow pass coming this year. So they did mention, and I'll talk more about this probably in the next news video I'm doing that I'm working on now, but the bow animations are changing as part of the bow pass because they had to redo them basically to make them faster. So that is something that will be happening. If you are a bow user or you're very passionate about playing a bow character, then this is going to be a good year for you. Let's move on to what is the biggest, definitely the biggest announcement of this adventure, or biggest announcement of this producer's letter here. So let's continue. Severlin says, this summer we'll see the release of the first mini expansion in DDO in the form of the classic adventure, The Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh. An evil alchemist mansion stands alone on a cliff, and mysterious lights and hauntings have kept people away despite rumors of great treasure. What is the secret? Debuting alongside this classic adventure will be our next universal enhancement tree called Horizon Walker, which focuses on making and neutralizing extraplanar and other enemies with a bow. As we get closer to the release of Saltmarsh, we will have more information about what to expect from a DDO mini expansion, the lessons we learned from the Lotro first mini expansion last year, and plans to give more value to VIPs. So this is a juicy chunk of text to talk about here. So first of all, the secret of the Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh. So this is another classic module. So this is a pen and paper module from 1981. The module deals with the town of Saltmarsh and is about unraveling the secret of a haunted house that lies on the edge of the town. So that's what you can kind of expect. As far as the mini expansion concept, so I think this is a concept that they're going to have an uphill battle justifying this to players, but essentially the idea here is that they're going to meet us in the middle between expansion and adventure pack. It's going to be the content offered is going to be not as much as a regular expansion, but the price is going to be lower. So looking at Lotro, which near the end of, not the end, but in the fall of 2020, Lotro had a mini expansion released, and in that expansion, the price structure was $20 for the lowest tier, $60 for the middle tier, and $100 for the top premium tier of the mini expansion. So I would expect, they haven't announced any prices yet, but that's what I would expect the pricing structure to be. As far as the concept of mini expansion, as I mentioned, they're going to have a hard time, I think, justifying this to players. When you look at the idea of a mini expansion, I mean, I think to many players it's going to look very cash grabby, because they're going to have to justify to players why this isn't just a regular adventure pack. I think if the quality and quantity of the content offered is much closer to what an expansion offers, yet it is half the price, $20 as opposed to the normal expansion lowest tier, which is $40, I think players will be okay with that. But if this release looks more akin to the quality and quantity of adventures we're used to in a regular adventure pack, players aren't going to be happy, because it's going to look like, well, they're just trying to get VIPs to pay more. They want you to pay cash for it as opposed to using points, because as an expansion it will be in the market. So yeah, but I will reserve judgment until we get more information on the mini expansion and until it's released. But when it is, I will definitely give it a fair review or a fair shake before I give my opinion. So we'll wait and see how it goes. And next they talk about Horizon Walker, which we already knew about. It is going to be a bow focused universal enhancement tree. It's going to be part of the bow enhancement. So we'll see how that goes. It's definitely a good time, as I mentioned before, to be a bow enthusiast in DDO, because they'll definitely be getting some love this year. Okay, next, let's continue on. This is what Sev had to say about the fall. He says, the fall will feature a set of new adventures and a raid revolving around the Wild Hunt, as well as a significant update to our Epic Destiny system. We are restructuring the core of the system, modernizing some trees and redesigning others, and making Epic Destinies more versatile by allowing players to have multiple Destinies active at once. So let's start with the Wild Hunt. So I had to look up what Wild Hunt was, because I wasn't totally sure. And according to the Forgotten Realms wiki, the Wild Hunt is a phenomenon involving a pack of hounds that could enchant individuals into following its mad race through the countryside. So I would expect this raid to be have a primal theme to it, probably be located somewhere in nature. That's what as opposed to being indoors. So that's what I would expect. They haven't released any other details, just this little descriptor in the producer's letter, but we'll probably get more information down the road. We don't know if this is a free-to-play raid, if this is a raid that's going to be part of a fall adventure pack. We don't know yet, but we'll see more. We'll definitely have more details as the year goes on. Okay, as far as the Epic Destiny Pass, they talked a lot about this, and I'll talk more about it in my next news video, but basically the Epic Destinies are going to be changed to work more like the heroic enhancement trees. So you'll be able to take points from multiple trees just like you do currently in the heroic enhancements. So that should be interesting. You'll definitely see more flexibility, I think, in your character. They still haven't given a lot of details in terms of how is this going to work with twists, what restrictions are there going to be. They did mention that progression is going to probably be spread out more over the epic levels. So instead of getting, and this is probably the most controversial thing I've seen in regards to the ED pass, is that instead of giving you all your points in your entire tree at level 20, you might only get part of your points and the rest might be spread out as you level up. So you might have to get to level 30 to get all of your points like you do currently at level 20. So if I would say that based on this description, if you don't already have your epic past lives done, or if you want to do epic past lives, probably should do them now, because it's probably going to, the power in your character is going to probably be skewed to be spread out more across the entirety of the epic levels as opposed to getting it all up front. They did have mentioned that there's not going to be any changes in XP requirements, anything like that. But as far as your character is probably going to be less powerful at level 20 after this change happens, this revamp happens, than it is now. Okay, next let's continue on to the last paragraph here. Sutherland says, other things to look forward to this year include a new monster manual volume, a free dungeon to wrap up the year, updates to our various festivals, and more. We want to thank you for continuing to make this game and community thrive, and we look forward to making 2021 a fantastic year for DDO. So not a lot to put our teeth into there. A free dungeon, that's cool when they do that, but they didn't really give any details. Updates to festivals, they didn't give any details. Is that going to be Crystal Cove? Is that going to be the Halloween event? We don't know. So we'll free monster manual, more not free, but more monster manuals is cool. So not much to say about this final paragraph, but I guess overall, guys, the big takeaway here is that Saltmarsh is the big thing for the rest of this year, a mini expansion. I didn't see a lot of players really clamoring for that, but at the same time, I know that anytime they do a classic module, players like it, so it should be cool. I think the concept of a haunted mansion sounds pretty neat, so I'm looking forward to that. Guys, that's going to be it for this video. If there is if any comments, anything like that, I would be interested in reading that as always, and I'll answer that as much as I can. If you would like to support this channel, I do have a Patreon available. The information for that is in the description if you're interested. That's going to be it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you all next time. Have a good one. Take care.